Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Teenage love is one of the most intense, uncontrollable, and unpredictable feelings, capable of truly destructive power. It is the first conscious experience of tender and passionate sensations, triggered by hormonal changes, as well as shifts in social interactions between a teenager and those around them. However, everyone sees and experiences this delicate feeling in their own way. Since this is an age of rebellion, self-discovery, and a quest for self-affirmation, young people often resort to reckless actions to impress their significant other, win their attention, favor, and admiration. In the spring of 2017, a series of extremely brutal crimes occurred in the quiet and peaceful town of Lawrenceville, located in the state of Georgia. These crimes resulted in the deprivation of life of 2 people and left 4 others in mortal danger. An elderly couple was tortured and beaten to death for money, 2 students were severely injured but miraculously survived, and prompt intervention by law enforcement helped stop the bloody spree, preventing the young offenders from completing what they had started. The story of these young criminals, 17-year-old Cassandra Bjorga and 19-year-old Johnny Ryder, was compared in the press to the plot of Romeo and Juliet, as the lovers wanted to end their lives together. However, they preferred to compare themselves to Bonnie and Clyde, even though they were not familiar with the history of the legendary criminal duo. The most terrifying aspect was that this criminal pair targeted members of their own families, aiming to rid themselves of all their loved ones. Love at first sight. Cassandra Bjorga and Johnny Ryder first met in late January 2017 in the company of mutual friends. At that time, Cassandra was 17 and still in school, while Johnny had just turned 19 and had already been married and divorced. He was not ready for family life, and the marriage was a forced measure because his underage girlfriend had become pregnant. However, the pregnancy ended prematurely, and their union fell apart within half a year. When Johnny first saw Cassandra, he was captivated by her and fell head over heels in love at first sight. Despite her petite and attractive appearance, Cassandra was a bundle of powerful and unrestrained energy. She was seriously engaged in Tang Soo Do, Korean martial arts, as well as Taekwondo and Wushu. Bjorga had even participated in various competitions multiple times, but eventually quit training, claiming she lost her ability to concentrate due to emotional turmoil. In reality, the main reason was that the schoolgirl preferred partying with friends and had unhealthy habits incompatible with sports. The girl possessed a striking appearance and a slender figure, knew how to attract attention, and skillfully manipulated those around her, especially the boys who were in love with her. Many now doubt whether she truly loved Johnny or simply used him to achieve her terrible goals. However, the boy was clearly infatuated with her, ready to do anything for her, believing he had found his true love and soulmate. Ryder lived in his parents' house with his mother and 2 sisters, while his new girlfriend lived with her grandparents, who adored their only granddaughter. Almost immediately after meeting, a passionate romance ignited between the young couple, and they hurried to introduce their significant others to their relatives to demonstrate the seriousness of their intentions. However, their loved ones did not accept their choices, provoking their anger and putting themselves in mortal danger. It is likely that individually, this pair would never have committed a serious crime, let alone the deprivation of life of their family members. But in this criminal story, too many factors coincided, ultimately leading to a horrific tragedy. Johnny shared his girlfriend's addiction to prohibited substances, was easily influenced and manipulated, while Cassandra was the generator of monstrous ideas that her boyfriend was willing to execute without question. What is known about Cassandra Bjorga? Cassandra Bjorga was born on January 19, 2000, in Peachtree Corners, Gwinnett County, Georgia. She was the only child of Amanda Sterling, who had her out of wedlock. Cassandra never knew her biological father and never had any contact with him, while her mother was more focused on her personal life than on raising her daughter. As a result, Cassandra had behavioral and aggression issues from a young age. When Cassandra turned 15, her mother married a man named Stephen. Her stepfather began showing an unhealthy interest in his young stepdaughter and made advances towards her. Cassandra tried to tell her mother about this, but she did not believe her, thinking that her daughter was making it all up since she was a pathological liar and constantly got into various troubles. The schoolgirl then called her grandparents, Wendy and Randall, and complained to them about what was happening. The elderly couple became seriously concerned about the situation and decided it would be better if their only granddaughter lived with them. Thus, in October 2015, the 15-year-old girl moved to Lawrenceville, to her grandparents' spacious two-story house. There, she had her own room, and her grandparents provided her with everything she needed, rarely denying her anything. Wendy and Randall believed that their love and care would help their granddaughter become better, but Cassandra skillfully took advantage of their kindness. She quit sports, skipped school, hung out with the wrong crowd, and regularly ran away from home. Additionally, she started stealing money from her relatives, spending it on alcohol and prohibited substances. On one occasion, when she couldn't get the amount she needed, she attacked her grandmother, threatening to end her life. Between October 2015 and March 2017, the Bjorga family called the police more than 30 times because Cassandra constantly ran away, disappeared without explanation, started fights, stole, and behaved aggressively. Under the influence of substances, she became unmanageable. Cassandra's behavior spiraled out of control after she began dating Johnny Ryder. She brought her boyfriend to her grandparents' house, stating that he would now live with them, but Wendy and Randall were firmly against it. A similar situation occurred when Johnny tried to bring Cassandra to his family's home to live with him. His mother and sisters opposed it and kicked the couple out. Soon after, the lovers decided that anyone who stood in the way of their relationship had to be eliminated. They planned to deal with Cassandra's grandparents, take all their savings, get rid of Johnny's relatives, seize their funds, visit Cassandra's mother and stepfather to settle scores with them, and then flee to Florida to spend everything they could get from the three houses. The brutal dealing with the grandparents. Cassandra knew exactly where a large sum of cash was kept in the house of her grandparents. In one of the rooms on the second floor, a small safe was stored in a closet, the password to which was unknown to Cassandra. The reason being, after noticing money disappearing and realizing their beloved granddaughter was stealing, Wendy and Randall began hiding it. Wendy was 63 years old, and her husband Randall had recently turned 64. They had been married for over 40 years, raised a daughter, acquired their dream home, and planned to grow old together. On the second floor, they occupied two adjacent bedrooms, each with its own bathroom. The elderly couple couldn't manage their granddaughter, but didn't want to return her to her mother or send her to juvenile detention because they believed she could be rehabilitated and didn't want to ruin her life. On the night of April 2nd, 2017, when the elderly couple had already gone to bed, Johnny entered the house, led in by Cassandra. Armed with kitchen knives and baseball bats, the couple climbed the stairs to the second floor. Cassandra entered her sleeping grandmother's room and stood by her bed while Johnny approached Randall and started hitting him with the bat. The elderly man didn't immediately realize what was happening. He was disoriented, frightened, and unable to defend himself. Johnny jumped on the bed, standing on his victim, and continued to hit him repeatedly. Meanwhile, Wendy woke up from the noise, hearing dull thuds and sounds similar to a muffled scream. In the darkness, she saw a figure by her bed and realized it was her granddaughter. She tried to get up but was immediately stabbed in the shoulder. The woman tried to defend herself, as evidenced by deep cuts on her hands, but the forces were unequal. Cassandra dragged her grandmother by the hair into the next room, where Johnny was cruelly dealing with her grandfather. The young couple tied the elderly pair with tape and continued to beat them, demanding the safe's code, threatening to end their lives if they didn't comply. Johnny held a knife to Randall's throat, but the elderly couple still hoped their granddaughter wouldn't dare to deprive her closest family members of life. However, a minute later, on Cassandra's command, her boyfriend started stabbing Randall in the stomach. Wendy cried out, begging them to stop, and gave the safe's code. Cassandra immediately ran to her grandmother's room to open the safe, and then, with a triumphant shout, waving a couple of thick envelopes of cash, she ran back to show her accomplice that they had succeeded and the safe was opened. However, the torture of the elderly couple didn't end there. Cassandra and her boyfriend continued to beat them, trying to get the passwords to their bank cards to take more money. Wendy and Randall likely realized they wouldn't be left alive and started saying their goodbyes and confessing their love for each other. Cassandra later recounted this during her interrogation, and it amused her greatly. After getting all the necessary information, the young monsters first finished off Randall with a knife to the neck in front of his wife. Then, dragging Wendy into the bathroom, they continued to deal with her. She was finished off with baseball bat blows to the head, done by her own granddaughter. At one point, Cassandra complained to Johnny that Wendy wouldn't die and still had a pulse. Then, Johnny slit the woman's throat to ensure there was no chance of survival. Party on the bones. After the brutal dealing with the elderly couple, their granddaughter and her friend continued living in the house with the two bodies decomposing in the rooms on the second floor. The young couple spent the stolen money, buying everything they wanted, including alcohol and various prohibited substances they could get their hands on. During interrogations, they confessed they wanted to try everything and now they could afford it. A few days later, Wendy's sister called the police, requesting a welfare check on her relatives who hadn't been in contact since April 1st, not answering calls and only sending text messages, which was unusual due to Wendy's poor eyesight. The messages stated that everything was fine and asked not to worry, but this only increased the concern. Law enforcement sent a patrol officer to the given address to check if everything was all right, but no one answered the door. At first glance, nothing seemed suspicious. No signs of a break-in, the mail had been collected, and neighbors saw the couple's car leaving for downtown in the morning. The officer concluded that the elderly couple had gone out on errands, and without a warrant to search the house, he left, reporting that he had done his job and noticed nothing strange. Meanwhile, the young perpetrators used the victim's car to go shopping. They bought food and alcohol daily, ordered restaurant delivery, and couldn't even finish all the food they bought, leaving the uneaten and spoiled items to rot in boxes scattered on the floor, tables, window sills, and every surface in the house. When the cash started running out, they withdrew money from Wendy's bank card, but they couldn't find Randall's wallet with his cards. About a week after the crime against her grandparents, Cassandra and Johnny decided to throw a party at the house, inviting their friends. However, they faced a serious problem as the bodies on the second floor had significantly decomposed and were emitting a foul odor that was impossible to ignore. Johnny went to the garage and found 2 cans of construction sealant, deciding to seal the doors of the rooms where the remains were. But first, they needed to mask the smell. They bought several liters of chlorine bleach from a hardware store and poured it over the bodies. Then Johnny carefully sealed every crack around the door leading to the bathroom and did the same with the bedroom door. The couple called their friends, telling them that Cassandra's grandparents had left town for a few days, leaving her with a lot of money, and she planned to throw a big party with alcohol and something more fun. However, the story seemed very suspicious to their friends. Most of them knew how many times Wendy and Randall had called the police because they couldn't handle their granddaughter, so no one dared to attend this strange party. In the end, only a small, bad company of troubled teenagers gathered at the house, including those who could get prohibited substances and agreed to do so for a reward. Even in a state of intoxication, the guests complained about the terrible smell, which Cassandra blamed on a clogged sewer. The next day, the perpetrators decided it was time to leave the house, as staying there had become unbearable. However, they were running out of cash and had nearly exhausted the funds from the card, so they needed more money for their escape. The plan to get it had been brewing for a while and now needed to be executed, but for this, more of their relatives had to lose their lives. An accidental victim saved the family. On Friday, April 7, 2017, the couple broke into the Ryder family home as Johnny had keys. They arrived in the morning when Johnny's mother and sisters were at work and university. They managed to ransack the house and find some money and valuables to last them for a while. The perpetrators armed themselves with baseball bats and also bought bear spray, an aerosol similar to pepper spray, but much larger and more powerful. This special aerosol, used to repel aggressive bears, contains strong tear and irritant substances, causing chemical burns to the skin and mucous membranes, provoking severe coughing and intense pain. For a human, this weapon can be deadly. They knew approximately when each family member would return home. The plan was to attack and deprive them of life one by one and then escape with the loot. By Monday, no one would be looking for the mother and sisters, assuming they had gone away for the weekend, giving the perpetrators a couple of days' head start. Johnny's younger sister, Melissa, was the first to come home after her university classes. But unexpectedly, she arrived with her boyfriend, whom she had invited over to be alone while no one was home. This complicated matters, but the criminals decided to stick to the plan and add another victim to their blacklist. When Melissa and her boyfriend entered and saw the mess, they realized there had been intruders, likely burglars. Melissa immediately ran to the phone to call the police, but didn't get the chance. The room began to fill with an acrid orange smoke that made their eyes water, their throats burn, and their skin feel like it was on fire. Suddenly, two figures armed with bats appeared, their faces covered with scarves, and began to beat the students. However, the victims unexpectedly put up serious resistance. A fight ensued, and the attackers, not expecting the bear spray to be so powerful, began to choke themselves. In the midst of the struggle, the front door suddenly opened, and the homeowner, Johnny's mother, who had returned from work earlier than usual, appeared. She screamed and called 911, while the perpetrators managed to escape through the kitchen door. During the attack, Cassandra dropped the car keys they had come with, but Johnny, during the robbery, had grabbed spare keys to his mother's car, which they used to flee, abandoning the main evidence, a vehicle registered to the late Randall. The couple didn't expect Melissa to come home with her boyfriend, as attacking and ending the lives of two strong young people at once was no easy task. Although the criminals immediately decided to eliminate the additional witness, fortunately, they failed to complete their plan. They overestimated their abilities and clearly underestimated the potency of their chosen weapon. House of Horrors. Both victims of the attack survived, but were hospitalized with varying degrees of injuries and chemical burns. Law enforcement officers who arrived at the scene were intrigued by the abandoned car in the backyard, which did not belong to the Ryder family. Checking the license plates, they discovered the car's lawful owner. It quickly became clear that the police had been called to the home of the car's owner earlier that week, but no one had answered the door. Officers immediately headed to Randall and Wendy's residence, and this time, after unsuccessful attempts to get a response, they forced the door open and entered. The stench of decay hit them immediately, clearly coming from upstairs. In one of the bedrooms, there were bloodstains on the bed and floor, and the open closet revealed an empty safe. Getting into the other bedroom was impossible because the door had been sealed shut with construction adhesive, requiring time and effort to cut through. When the police finally entered, they were met with a horrifying sight. On the floor lay the decomposing body of an elderly man with his hands tied behind his back and signs of severe torture. The bathroom door was also sealed, taking more time to break through. Inside, the remains of the homeowner's wife were found. It was evident that she had been tortured and beaten before her throat was slit, which caused her death. The house was in complete disarray, with trash, boxes, and containers of spoiled takeout food everywhere, empty alcohol bottles, and the sink filled with dirty dishes. Police had visited the house dozens of times over the past year and a half, and knew that the deceased couple had a granddaughter who frequently ran away, behaved aggressively, and got into trouble. She became the prime suspect in this case. But where to find the minor accused of such a heinous crime? Dangerous guests. When the injured Ryder family members were informed about the events at the Bjorga house, they immediately pointed to Cassandra, stating that Johnny could be her accomplice because he was infatuated with her and might follow her lead. The young perpetrators and robbers were declared wanted, along with the car they escaped in. After fleeing the scene, the couple went to a store and bought 5 liters of milk to wash off the bear spray residue and relieve the painful burning. After some thought, Johnny remembered his best friend from high school, Jason, with whom he had been inseparable during their senior years, but had almost lost contact after graduation. The criminals decided to seek help and temporary refuge at Jason's home. Jason was very surprised when his former classmate appeared at his apartment with a girl. The pair looked frightening, but Johnny claimed they were in trouble and had nowhere else to turn. According to Johnny, he had a severe argument with his mother over his girlfriend, whom she disapproved of. Allegedly, his mother kicked him out and sprayed them with pepper spray, affecting both of them. The uninvited guests asked to take a shower and clean up. Jason and his mother were very kind-hearted and allowed the couple to use their bathroom, gave them clean clothes, fed them dinner, and even offered them to stay the night. The pair accepted the offer since they had nowhere else to go. In the morning, the apartment owner prepared breakfast and coffee for everyone. She chatted amicably with the guests, asking if there was any other way she could help them. Suddenly, the sound of police sirens grew louder outside. Police cars arrived right under the windows, and a minute later, officers addressed Johnny and Cassandra by name through a megaphone, urging them to surrender. Jason and his mother were shocked by this turn of events. Johnny, grabbing a large kitchen knife, thanked their hosts for their hospitality and ordered them to leave the apartment immediately. Terrified, the hosts rushed to the exit while the criminals barricaded themselves inside. They had no intention of surrendering, deciding it was better to end their lives together. Failed Romeo and Juliet. The criminals knew they couldn't hide in someone else's apartment for long and that a SWAT team would burst in any minute. Together, they went to the bathroom, taking a knife with them, and inflicted several deep cuts on their wrists, hoping to bleed out quickly. Johnny took out his phone and, already losing consciousness, recorded a voice message for his mother, asking for forgiveness. He expressed regret for his actions, said he loved his family very much, and that he shouldn't have hurt them. He added that he was dying in the arms of his beloved girlfriend, and that this was his final message. However, Cassandra didn't send any similar messages to anyone. When the police broke into the apartment and forced open the bathroom door, they found the young couple on the tiled floor, lying in each other's arms, surrounded by a large pool of blood. They were both unconscious but still showed signs of life. They were given immediate medical attention and then transported to the hospital. Shocking confessions of the young criminals. As soon as the young couple regained consciousness, they immediately asked about each other. Johnny was the first to give a confession, claiming he regretted his actions. Meanwhile, his girlfriend tried to portray herself as a victim, blaming everything on her boyfriend. She claimed she had been suffering from depression for years, was very angry with herself, and didn't want to live anymore. However, while recounting the events, she accidentally admitted that she had long wished for her grandparents' deaths. During interrogations, Cassandra behaved childishly, complained about the unappetizing hospital food, made faces, and even flirted with the detectives. She only started talking after being brought fast food from a restaurant, as she had requested. What the teenager revealed shocked even the most seasoned officers. When asked why she ended the lives of her grandparents, Cassandra calmly replied that they had lived long enough. She added that they interfered with her fun, made her go to school, and hid money that she needed. Cassandra showed no remorse for depriving the only people who cared for her of their lives and was only upset that she couldn't find her grandfather's bank card. When told that he hid his wallet under his pillow because he feared she would steal it, she laughed and remarked, "Grandpa was always damn smart." The young criminals also admitted that they wanted to end the lives of the Ryder family out of revenge for not accepting Cassandra and trying to prevent Johnny from seeing her, thinking she was a bad influence. They also planned to rob the family, reasoning that dead people don't need money. Next, they planned to visit Cassandra's mother and stepfather to get back at them for mistreating her. After all this, The couple intended to go to Florida to enjoy life by the ocean and spend the money. Trial and sentence. After the failed attempt to end their lives together, the lovers met again several months later in the courtroom. It seemed that there was no love or passion left between them, as they consistently blamed each other, argued, and even resorted to insults. In the end, both pleaded guilty to the crimes against the elderly couple, the attack on the students, and the robberies. The court found Cassandra Bjorga and Johnny Ryder guilty on all counts, and sentenced each of them to 2 life sentences with the possibility of parole after 60 years. Johnny expressed genuine remorse and apologized to everyone he had hurt, while Cassandra stated that she had nothing to apologize for. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel. There are many shocking stories ahead of you.